Hey, good morning. Maria is back with another video. It's 8:20 a.m. It is February 22nd, and I got up a while ago and made my bed, like I always do. I tend to be a tidy person. I try to be. I don't like a lot of clutter. I try to keep everything clean. And the thing is, it's like not because no one's ever going to come in my bedroom. Nobody comes in here, but it's just because I have certain habits. I've never liked going or leaving or leaving the house or doing anything before my bed was made. So I'm a pretty, what do you call it, organized person, I guess. Anyway, so good morning. It's Saturday, and I don't know what other people are doing today, and I really don't have much planned. Just everything's kind of up in the air. So I decided to make this video because sometimes I feel as though people think that I'm some sort of agent of change, or I'm trying to bring about change or change people's views or something like that. And unfortunately, sometimes you get put in situations where you have to stand up for yourself. And in this situation, I'm standing up for myself only because of the long period of frustration that I had to deal with. And some people in this community may have never understood why I was making such a rant, why I was making such a protest, because to some people this behavior is normal, but some people will be surprised to find out that this sort of behavior is in fact illegal. And the reason why is because it deprives someone of their human rights. Anytime somebody deprives a person of their basic human rights, and conspires to set a motion in place where other people are reporting back to a central location, or kind of spying on another person, and it's affecting that person in a way where they are prevented from living their life as they choose to as an American citizen, is in fact against the law. So I wanted to talk about how this relates to things like, for example, employment. Now, a lot of people, like, I know when I first came to this town, I had noticed that, because I'm up on like employment laws, okay, and I've always paid attention to them. That was one of my biggest like interests when I was younger, kind of knowing the rights of each employee, and I'm not somebody who likes to raise hell or anything like that, but like in my case, I can see, I think it's pretty obvious, and the facts speak for themselves, that I've been dealt like a major injustice. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about why, or because I know some people feel as though they want to challenge me on my views and my opinion and my outlook. And this is one of the main reasons why this has the element of gang stalking. First of all, I'd like to say that people have the right to live their life however they choose to, especially when they have this is on their free time. Okay, now I understand there's certain things that you can't do on your free time that's going to affect things like employment. Like, for example, if I was a closeted heroin addict, okay, if I was a heroin addict, which obviously I'm not, but if I was a heroin addict, okay, that could affect my job performance, okay, especially if I'm like working with equipment, the company vehicles or something along those lines, to where this stuff is in my system, and it could cloud my judgment. It could make me get into an accident. I could cause harm to myself, or cause, even worse, cause harm to someone else, damage someone's property, so on and so forth. Okay, these sort of issues collide with the the rules and regulations of the company, because it puts people's lives in jeopardy, and also it could raise like they could have workers' comp claims, and when really in in fact it's not really the company's fault that this person got in an accident or fell off a ladder. It's because their mind was altered and they created this accident themselves. Okay, but since it happens at work, they're going to sit here and try to claim, oh, well, I'm going to get workers' compensation, that sort of stuff. Okay, it's a very It's an understandable situation, okay? So in that case, what they do in their personal life is going to collide into their work life, okay? So that therefore they have rules and they have the right to establish those rules if it's going to jeopardize the company in any way. So then I've had, issues where people were trying to modify my behavior. Whether that be, interfering or suggesting that I steer away from certain hobbies and things of this nature. Like, for example, sewing or arts and crafts or whatever. That is my right as an American citizen to engage in the hobbies that I choose to do. And so when you deal with the difference between I can think I think you guys can understand why there's a difference between a heroin addict and how that interferes with a job, and then how certain hobbies or what you do in your free time um, doesn't. Like, for example, like I said, there's a difference between being a heroin addict and somebody who has engages in a hobby. Now, I believe that maybe my family or my ex-husband, if he was my husband, I don't know, started putting restrictive things on me, like, bitching about my hair and stuff, because they wanted me to stay within this marriage line. And that's the most insulting part of it, because I'm supposed to modify my habits so that I can stay married to somebody that basically doesn't love me and I don't love them. Now, some people will say, oh, well, he does love you. But if you loved a person, to me, when you manipulate someone's employment and you see somebody going through psychological trauma, okay, and you stay quiet about it, and there was a part of him that, there were times where he said things to make me understand that he enjoyed exerting his control. And that is why I chose to leave. And that the fact that he was in a relationship with his mom and all this other stuff, that was why I chose to leave. Okay, when you're dealing with employment, there are certain guidelines in employment that are supposed to protect the rights of the employee. Now, there are a lot of people who in this community who never thought about this. Like a lot of managers, business owners, they get trained on sexual harassment, they get trained on business laws, but they don't understand what they mean. And yet, when they are confronted with this very issue, they tend to participate in this sort of thing. Now, I was married to Joel, and he probably had arranged some of my jobs. And which reminds me of that song. Speaking of the 80s, I was thinking about, remember that song called Don't You Want Me by the Human League? Where there's this particular lyric in there where it's like, don't forget it's me who put you where you are now, and I can put you back down too. That is a very abusive sort of relationship, when someone wants to use what they've given you, even though you had no idea that they gave it to you, as a form of manipulation. It's abuse, okay? Anyway, when it comes to marriage or marital status in the workplace, these things are not supposed to be taken in consideration, mainly because it violates the rights of another person. Also, what it happened to me over at the farmer's place when I left, why this has the element of gang stalking, is because when I left the farmer's place, I left just in peace. Okay, I left in peace, and I wanted to find another job, which I found another job, which was probably arranged as well. And when I was there, I was dealing with, hang on a second. Oh, okay. I was dealing with, people coming in, or people at work, kind of, agitating me and saying things and doing things to me that were relating to some of the issues that happened over at the farmer's place, harassing me. And when I left the farmer's place, I left on a confidentiality contract, meaning I was not to discuss the details of why I left that particular employer. And these things are supposed to be in place to protect the employee, but mainly to protect the employer, okay? But it's supposed to protect people both ways. Why it had the element of gang stalking is because when you sign a contract like that, or when you have an agreement, or you have any sort of disagreement with the employer, that is supposed to stay with the employer. It is not supposed to be broadcast to the next employer, the next employer, out into the community, this sort of thing. And the reason why is because it can create some form of blacklisting, or somebody, using it to make people have a bad image of you, which I know that people have a bad image of me because they think that I broke up a relationship, when in fact that's not true. Not true at all. But anyway, so this is why it has the element of gang stalking, is because, number one, they're basing it on my marital status. They are trying to impose religion on me, which is something that is against the law. Especially when it relates to employment. And also doing this because they are trying to preserve some sort of conjugal situation. That is another reason. There are so many violations and so many restrictions that have been put on my life that are not justified, that are against the law and are downright wrong. I have the right to live my life how I want to. And when people use these things, like for example, I think they're assuming that because I'm going to have a relationship at my workplace. And the thing is that no, I'm not going to have a relationship at my workplace. I'm not, okay? But I have tried to work for companies that were women woman-owned, operated type companies when I was living over in the Elements Valley, looking for jobs in the Los Angeles area, which I would be fine to do. I would be fine to work with a place where there's more women. That would be fine with me. Or work, mainly by myself, and then just have like touch and go, type interaction with people. Like for example, I work in a department and they, down the hall or something like that. I was open to that. I am open to that. But the thing is that is another form of it, when you are basically restricting one person to behave in a certain way when everyone else has the right to do what they want. Okay, that is wrong. That is a violation of my right. I know that my my ex-family had a say in it, thinking that they were trying to keep me in this particular marriage, and that's abuse. Okay, it is extreme form of abuse. Especially when you have neighbors and stuff like that spying on you and reporting back, and then using this as a form of determining your employment. I have the right to make clothes if I want to, dress how I want to on my days off. This has nothing to do with work. And so when you do these sort of things, you deprive me of my rights, and you make me not want to live. I don't want to live life if my life is going to be the way that it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. I think sometimes we have this idea of how we're supposed to live, or maybe they like their lifestyle or whatever. I am who I am. And, I understand, for example, when you go to work, you have to be more polished, you have to be professional, you have to do whatever. And that's fine. You know what I mean? I have slacks, I have dress jackets and stuff like that. But that's not my everyday attire, And then sometimes, I felt as though I was turned away from opportunities because they felt as though which I don't know why, but they thought maybe I was dressing up too much, whatever. I don't think my clothes are that dressy. I don't, but I think they are standard office attire. I've already talked about this before, but whatever the case is, it's I'm not going to change my personal life, and that's wrong to impose those sort of things on a person. I understand, I have a lot going against me, that first of all, I'm a black woman in a predominantly white community. Also, some people, not everybody in this world is going to like you. Even if you're nice, even if you're kind, even if you're, a polite person, not everybody is going to like you. They're just not. And I understand that fully. I mean, that's just not how the world works, okay? I know how. I've seen people interact with other people. There was this one girl, she started the company, and I thought she was nice. She was very pleasant and very nice, very intelligent, fun to talk to. I enjoyed talking to her, but there was a group of women who just didn't like her. They did not like this particular girl, And that's the way it is. And when people don't like you for certain things, you don't change who you are just so you can cater to these people so that they'll like you more. Okay, I understand there's a certain, uh, that's how it is. You are there to do a job. Okay, not all coworkers like each other. They don't. Not all coworkers get along, and that's why I always try to go back into professionalism. When I think of professionalism, I think of we are there to do a job. Okay, we are there to cooperate. Okay, we don't have to share stories. Sometimes you're lucky enough to find an employee that you get along with that you might want to go to lunch with every once in a while, or maybe even have a friendship outside of work. Sometimes that happens, and that's a wonderful thing. But sometimes, it's just basically a working relationship. Meaning, sometimes they need a favor. Maybe they might be in a rush. They might need you to type up a report for them. They might need you to do a spreadsheet for them. They might need you to take over a task for them for a while. Or maybe they're going on vacation. They need you to sit in their place or whatever. And you don't have to be crazy about that person. But you know what? You are there to keep the workflow going. So you get in there and you do what you have to do. It's not about being cliquish and being this way. So, I understand. There are people who don't even like the way that I talk. I've had people, trip out on the way that I talk. Sometimes people are like that. That doesn't mean I'm going to change my language just because people don't like me. What my ex-family did, and then also I believe maybe Joel's family maybe, was what I consider to be Neanderthal thinking. It's like, you don't change who you are to please other people. You don't do that. And I'm sorry, and I know that this has caused a lot of problems, and so I'm supposed to pick up the pieces and I'm supposed to shoulder the burden for their mistake. You know what I mean? Which is wrong. Now, I got terminated for, I don't know why I was terminated over at the last place I was working. He said that the company was having problems, they weren't making money, blah, 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 whatever, okay? I was there under suspicious circumstances, but I will say, though, that I'm not going to apologize for anything I did over there. Not a damn thing. And because, number one, I always behaved in a professional manner. Always. And I don't want people telling me, what I'm supposed to do in my personal life, how I'm supposed to live my life. I have my own life to live. I have my own life to live. I don't want people imposing their religious views on me. I don't, especially when it makes no sense. I don't want people telling me, that I can't eat apples at work or whatever, and that's wrong. You know what I mean? I know that my one of my sisters, has been in a sense of competition with me for a very long time, and it broke my heart to realize that this is what she was doing, and I know some people, like I know this one guy. He was a vegetarian. Okay, he was a vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian, but he was a vegetarian, and some people, when you talk about vegetarianism, they immediately get kind of angry and they get kind of pissed off a little bit because maybe they themselves don't want to give up meat. They find it impossible to give up meat, so they get angry because this person has set standards for their life and they choose to live by that. And it makes people agitated. Well, he has a right to be a vegetarian. He has a right to do that. Like I said, I'm not a vegetarian. I prefer meat. You know what I mean? I like meat. But, I have the right to have my eating habits, okay? I think the reason why they were upset about my eating habits is because they were afraid that if I was to, they thought maybe I was trying to find someone else. Like I said before, I grew up with an overweight mother. And it's just my lifestyle. This is how I choose to live my life. And I know that I've been bullied because of my family, my ex-family, throughout the years, and I now understand where it's coming from. And so, you don't you hope that you find an employer who is competent. And I want to surround myself with competent people. Okay? This has all the elements of gang stalking. Anytime somebody wants to bring you into a job under some sort of lure, anytime they want to arrange your job based off your conjugal situation, and everything that you do is revolving around that conjugal situation, it's wrong. Okay, it is not for employers or anyone else to monitor you, babysit you, and try to keep you in a marriage. Okay, this is a major violation, and it's a scandal. It is a scandal. It's scandalous. Okay, it is scandalous. I suspect that when I go in for job interviews, that maybe everyone in town has been alerted to contact these people, saying, well, this is what this person's doing, and then they get their hands in it, and then they have to, all this other stuff. I suspect something. This is probably how the operation works. It's wrong because I'm an adult, and the very fact that they deprive me of my right and treat me like a child and basically put something like this in place is a violation. It is all the elements of gang stalking. I think my ex-sister Tanya feels in competition with me. Tanya has a bachelor's degree, which I think is great for her. I don't have a bachelor's degree, and she wants to, I guess, compare herself to me. And the thing is that, I'm not even looking for jobs that pay that much money. I'm just looking to get by at this point in my life. And like I said, I am open to new things. And I want to. I want to try different things. I might as well. I mean, aside from that, there's other talents and skills that I have that maybe aren't really, haven't untapped them. I haven't really used them. So I'm open to different things. But I get annoyed with her because she feels as though, she has to, have her hand in it. And I don't know if she does this to make herself feel better or whatever. But I feel as though I feel, what do you call it, angry about it, because the reason why I've experienced so many setbacks growing up, especially in school, is because of their bullying. And it's like layers upon layers of their abuse, and they don't even realize they're being abusive. It is abusive. Okay, when a woman's close to 50 years old, and they pick on things that I do, like, for example, I like my arts and crafts. If you were to come into my bedroom, you would see that, I make arts and crafts that are very colorful, they're very bright, and that's my choice. It's my choice. It doesn't mean that I'm babyish. There's nothing babyish about me. I'm a very mature person. I have the ability to use my logic, my sound reason and logic. I can make decisions, if you have a little talent, even though I don't think my talent's great, okay, it's not, I've seen people like on Etsy and stuff like that who've created far better things than me. But if you have a little bit of a hobby and you enjoy those things, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? And no, I can't, I'm not like a, what do you call it, a Van Gogh or something, my art's not deep. I wish it was, I wish it was. It's more pleasant and it's cute, okay? It's cute. But that doesn't mean that I'm an immature person. There's a difference between somebody who is childish and babyish and immature, and then somebody who enjoys certain things. Like, for example, some people who create cartoons. They're adults. They like making cartoons. They like people who, like ventriloquists, they're adults. They go out and they entertain people with their little dummies and stuff like that. Does that mean that they don't know how to take care of themselves? Does that mean that they can't make decisions? No, has nothing to do with that. These are the things that are a part of me. This is who I am. And they try, anytime you're dealing with gang stalking, another issue of the gang stalking is because they try to modify your behavior. Okay? They try to modify your behavior, like in this case, they try to modify my religion. They try to modify what I eat. They try to modify my hair. They try to modify, and in this case, I'm okay with letting my hair go, even though it is a hassle. It is a major hassle for me to do my hair. Okay, it is. It is. It's a big hassle. But, you know, and I think it was wrong to begin with because I have every right to. Also, you know, I had mentioned that there were women out there who work right now who are wearing like fake eyelashes to work, long nails, and so on and so forth. Everything under the sun. And they're pointing this out as well. Um, you know, you are depriving me of my right, you know, and it's wrong. It's wrong. Okay. Anytime somebody is always being the exception to the rule, being singled out and being treated and being singled out, pointing them out as this one particular person, that is wrong. Okay. You don't base it on anything that's relating to my physical appearance. And I know that, like, for example, I understand there's certain things that go over the top. I understand there are certain things that go over the top. Like, for example, um, you know, like, I don't know, like dark type, deep, thick eyeliner, long lashes. Now, I'm surprised that some of these women that I've seen around town are getting away with it, maybe because obviously they can do it because they are not being gang stalked and they're not victims of human trafficking. Okay, but I've never really done that anyway. But I'm just saying is it's like, you know, you are basically trying to make it so that my life doesn't, I don't want to live my life anymore, and that's wrong. You know, I don't see things the way that my family sees them, and I don't want to. You know what I mean? I know, like, for example, I understand sometimes there are certain regulations at work, you know, like, for example, I used to work for a company, well, it wasn't really a company, yeah, it was a company, but I used to work for a woman who insisted every day that every woman in the office wore dresses, okay? I'm not a dress person. I do have dresses in my closet, okay, but I'm a pants person. I prefer pants, okay, but she was real old school. She was really old school. Believed that women should wear dresses. As a matter of fact, my family, my dad, he didn't think women should wear pants either. He wasn't a woman wear pants type thing. But I'm a woman who's of the modern age, okay, and I prefer pants, okay. And you know, but this last, I went to go for a job interview a few days ago, and because it was in a certain industry, I felt as though I'm going to try to base it on whatever industry I'm going into. Like, for example, last week or 2 weeks ago, I went to an open interview for Dollar Tree, and in this case, I didn't wear the slacks. I wore jeans. I think I wore a sweater. It was more played down. I was clean. I was, you know, I considered myself to be polished and presentable, but I wasn't wearing like my business attire. When I go in for a office job, then I'm thinking, okay, well then I'm going to wear, you know, slacks, a denim, not a denim jacket, but a dress jacket, a shirt, you know, a nice dressy shirt, whether that be buttoned up or like a pullover that's meant to be like a shell or a professional shirt, whatever. In this particular case, this is the first time in a long time I wore a dress to a job interview, and I wore a dress for a job interview. But I didn't, I mean, it wasn't a dress, it was more like a skirt piece that I decided to wear because I kept thinking, okay, well, you know, I'm going to go ahead and wear this particular, um, and it really wasn't a salon, it's more like a manufacturer place. But anyway, a place that sells, you know, products or whatever. But anyway, so, but I do dress appropriately. I dress appropriately. And I feel as though, you know, this constant screening of, like, for example, in the past where I was at work and people were paying attention to what I wear, you know, and then trying to do this to me so that I'm supposed to stay in this marriage. That to me is so abusive. Like, I can't even tell you. I'm not married to Joel, okay? And I also want to talk about the spiritual aspect of marriage. If Joel was married to his mom from the very beginning, obviously, in scripturally, I'm not married to him. If he was in a relationship with his mother anytime during the course of our marriage, okay, and then he was still with his mom during that time, you know, while we were married or whatever, however, whatever time it happened, whether he was married before when I first got together with him or whether he was married when I came back to town in 2009 and he was with his mom, or if he wasn't at that time and we were married and he was going over there and seeing her and then having a sexual relationship with her, That right there, scripturally, ends the relationship. Okay, that because that's based on scripture. Okay, if somebody goes outside the marriage line and you choose to forgive them, then you can continue on. If you don't, then that breaks the bonds of marriage. Spiritually, I'm not married to this particular person. Um, Also, legally, I'm not married to this particular person. So, what I feel is what I've dealt with is a major form of abuse. And I think maybe some people, Neanderthal thinking, because of the fact that I don't have a bachelor's degree and all this other bullshit, they think, well, you're not going to have much of a future. And look at this, okay? And I'm dead serious. If that means that I have to work 2 fast food jobs in order to put a roof over my head, then I'm going to work 2 fast food jobs. Okay? Because this is how I see it. Some people don't realize how I see these people. Okay? To me, if you have a relationship with your child, that kind of relationship with your child, that disturbs me. Okay? It disturbs me very much. And that's the kind of people that I don't want to associate with. I don't want to be around. I don't want to associate. I'm terrified of something like that because it goes against everything that I believe in. If that's their choice, that's their choice. So it disturbs me that somebody would put something like this in place to keep a sort of. I am literally, seriously, okay. I am not somebody who feels as though, you know, I'm willing to do whatever I have to do in order for me to survive. And that it's as simple as that. I don't want to, I'm tired of what happened, and it shouldn't have happened. And it is a scandal. It is a scandal. What I thought was just the issue of my hair over at the farmer's place got deeper, is deeper than that. You know what I mean? It is deeper than that. I thought it was just like, okay, these people were bitching about my hair, and I thought that was is it. And then as time went on, I started putting things together, and it's like, this is some twisted shit. I don't want to be married to Joel. I don't want to be married to anyone. And I know that sometimes people don't understand that because of, people, or maybe they're traditional. And like, for example, I think my ex-sister Tanya, she might be traditional, meaning that, she's going to be with her husband no matter what, through thick and thin. But I understand scripture. I understand what, when it comes to marriages, what can dissolve a marriage, what can, Jesus even said, this was what Jesus himself said, okay, what can dissolve a marriage? That was the main and the only thing that can dissolve a marriage, according to scripture, okay? So, and even if that's the case, somebody might firmly believe in one thing, and that's right, and that's their choice. But when you try to enforce or oppose your choice on another person, that's wrong. They still don't have the right to do that. They still don't have the right to do that, regardless. So everything about this situation relates to gang stalking, and I am seriously encouraging people to look into gang stalking and why it's wrong, and see how, when this applies to employment, why it's wrong. Like when people scope me out and size me up, when I go to job interviews, I expect to be, what do you call it? My skill set should be taken in consideration. That's why I'm there. I'm not there because I want to be in a relationship or whatever. I don't want to be associated to Joel and his family. I don't. Okay? And my reasons are valid. You know what I mean? And when you see this woman, me, myself, going in for job interviews or being at work or whatever, and people are basically, thinking that I'm not, I don't know what people think, okay? But I don't want my jobs to be revolving around my relationships. I don't. You know what I mean? I'm somebody who feels, what do you call it? A deep need to be protected, to feel safe, okay? What my family did, they have assaulted me psychologically as well as financially, meaning they have caused me to not have any sense of peace of mind. I can't even understand why somebody would do something this twisted. It is twisted to do something like this. And for that, I can't forgive that. I can't overlook it. Maybe, like I said, maybe they thought, well, she'll have a better future if she's with this particular person. She'll get better jobs and everything. To me, that to me is just like being a whore. Like, I'm gonna sit here and, you know, um, just because I can get a better job, or maybe things would be easier if I stayed within that family, that's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to me. All the money in the world is not worth it to me. Now, some people it is, okay, but it's not for me. You know what I mean? And I feel anytime, you deny people their rights and put them in situations like this, it's wrong. Okay, this is human trafficking. It's human trafficking, being trafficked. There's nothing wrong really with somebody arranging your job, but when you, not necessarily, but when you have based on some sort of lore, then that's when it's wrong. It's wrong, and or anybody who wants to challenge you, they want to challenge your viewpoints, whether that be based on religion or bringing up my relationship with my ex-husband, if he even was my ex-husband or my husband or whatever. All these things, every single aspect of it. Okay, and so for people who never understood what gang stalking was, or maybe thought that, well, this is your family and this is right. Your family, this is why this is illegal, because people use these things to abuse family members. There are people, like, for example, in the UK, some women who are Muslims, for example, whose families, women who want to break, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being Muslim, okay, there is nothing wrong, I'm not knocking Muslim people, but just like, for example, some of these Christians that we're talking about, who distort their views, and they become fanatical, they become terrorist. Okay, there are some Muslims who are fanatical, who become terrorists, who are very abusive, and some of these women try to escape from their families because they, as an adult, they choose not to be that. So they put things in place like this to a lot of their women as well. Okay, and they make it very difficult for their women to live. Okay, and a lot of people here in this country will look at this and like, wow, what a bunch of primitive people. How evil to do that. But this is the exact same thing. It is exactly the same thing. Okay, to me, even worse. Why? Because in some Muslim countries, if they have a family member that they want to get rid of, they just get rid of them. Okay, whether they stone them to death or whatever, which I think is far more humane than to psychologically abuse a person continually over and over and over again. Okay, which these people have done. In the beginning, I hardly slept. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what was going on. Now that I understand, I'm able to sleep a little bit better now. But it's still in the back of my mind 24 hours a day what these people have done. The foolishness and the idiotic behavior. With the people who work in human resources, I'm disappointed that people don't know any better. They don't know any better. You know what I mean? They should know that this stuff is wrong. But I don't know, they use subjective reasoning. I don't know what it is, why people tend to allow themselves to participate in something that is wrong. It's wrong. I'm not married to Joel. Okay? And I don't want to be, I don't want to be considered, what do you call it? I don't want my life choices based around my marriage that doesn't exist. I know that people they're going to judge me. Mostly people are going to judge me on my race. I can't change my race. I can't change that. I can't change anything about that. Okay. I know that there's certain people, like, for example, there's people in this community that like NASCAR. A lot of people in this community like country music. They're different than me. Okay. Yeah, I like some country music, but some of these are white people. Okay. I don't expect them to see things my way. Okay, I can't change them, they can't change me. And but I do expect people to what do you call it, respect the fact that I'm a hard worker. Give me a chance, you know what I mean? Give me a chance. And And I'm not trying to enforce or stand up to the establishment or anything like that. I'm a very peaceful person. I'm just saying that, I had tried, several times to leave this community when I had the opportunity to do so. And then there was a situation in place where they wouldn't allow me to leave. And now I'm at this situation where, I have very little resources to do anything. And they put me in this situation. You know what I mean? I've had employers that I worked for in this community that helped put me in this situation, thinking that they were doing the right thing. And why I hold them accountable is because they have all the resources to know what they did was wrong. There's posters on the wall stating that what these people were doing were wrong. It was wrong. All these people who, for the bigger companies that I worked for, who had somebody behind the desk. Even, let's just say, for example, the passive aggressive stupidity lady. Okay, she was involved in the time that I went over to the farmer's place, and I had the little evaluation with the rest of the group and everything. This is somebody who's supposed to be an expert. She's supposed to be an expert in her field. Okay, and she herself allowed herself to participate. When I contacted her, I was told, I was given the same thing that she's the CPA. Like, they didn't want to hear it. Like, they were upset that I was even doing this. I had every right to. I was screaming out for my life. For my life. Do you realize that this went all over the country? All over the country. Their stupid behavior, their idiotic behavior, put in a worldwide system of bullying. Okay? This is why confidentiality is so important. This is the reason why. This is the main reason why it's supposed to be confidential. The reason why when I left the farmer's place, I didn't say anything, because I felt as though, you always want to make sure that you have a good reputation, a good name with the employer. These people who did this to me didn't care about those sort of things. I did. I cared about my reputation. You know what I mean? So anyway, this is gang stalking. So, and it is human trafficking. I believe human trafficking and gang stalking are very similar, mainly because it's the same thing. You have people who want to spy on you. They keep you in a certain form of subordination to the handlers. They keep you isolated. Isolation is the main theme of this, okay? They prevent you from having any contact with the outside world. You lose all your contacts. You lose your friends. They use smear campaigns. Like, I know that everybody seems to think that I'm some slut, and I'm not. I stay home. So you get a lot of this garbage. I stay home most of the time. And I've always been that. I'm like a homebody type thing. Okay, I think maybe my family thought that I broke Joel and his mom up, and that to other people in this community, they're thinking, well, she broke up this. I had no idea. I thought that was his mom. Okay, whatever the case is, my rights have been violated. Okay, and I'm disturbed by it. I'm disturbed by the actions of people, and I'm a little frustrated, because they left me with nothing to think about other than what happened to me. Okay, because I don't, when you deal with gang stalking, you might meet people, but you're always afraid that they're going to be associated with these people, and that they're not sincere, and that they're going to be spies, and they're going to use everything that you do. Like, for example, if I made a friend, and so she came over here to help me with, I don't know, my computer. So while she's in my room, she might see my little bag that I made for my computer, and then she's like, because they're using stupid things against you, oh, I saw she made a little bag with a little person on it, and so make sure she doesn't get a job because of that. Stupid bullshit like that. Even though that's dumb, and I have every right to do arts and crafts or whatever, these people base it on stuff because they want to control and bully you. That's what it's about. And anytime they do that, anytime your rights are being violated, you are dealing with something that's big like this. So it is a scandal. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I've been talking for 40 something minutes. What I'm going to do for the day, I don't know. Okay, obviously I need to look for work, but it's Saturday and I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on myself. But I understand I need to get moving. I need to find a job. And I would like to find, I don't like to say I want to find any job. I want something that's going to be compatible with what I can do and something that I enjoy, preferably. Sometimes you get jobs you don't enjoy. Sometimes, but I have to try new things. I have to try new things. I have to, I'm open to trying new things. And if I apply to a job, then I obviously feel as though it's something that I can see myself doing. Like there was one job that I kept thinking, like for example, I'm trying to steer away from accounting jobs, but there was an accounting job that I saw, and I think it was like a oil or something like that. Anyway, there's certain industries, like for example, I'm not really into medical industries. I would prefer not to do that. Certain things, but if I apply for a job, obviously I must be able to see myself in that job or give it a try. Give it a try, try my best. So anyway, wrapping up this video, I will be back with another video sometime later. Have a great day.